At 0452 local time, the tactical coordinator aboard a P-8 Poseidon over the Strait of Hormuz finalizes the attack sequence.
Targeting data transmitted in real time from a National Reconnaissance Office satellite trace a perfect, live trajectory of the enemy flotilla.
The attack sequence begins, but the aircraft's own weapons inventory reports a critical shortage. Too many targets and not enough missiles.
The 16 ships below.
Iran had already sown dozens of mines in the shallower reaches, but those mines were a skirmish. The fleet below was war.
If left it intact.
The force tasked with erasing this fleet consists of a reconverted passenger plane and a single.
Their final moments will be a desperate attempt to solve a problem that was mathematically impossible 90 seconds before the first impact.
To understand what is about to happen, it is necessary to understand what is at stake in this narrow canal of blue water.
The Strait of Hormuz is 34 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. That is roughly equivalent to the distance from one. Through those 34 kilometers, approximately 17 million barrels of crude oil pass every single day.
That number represents approximately 20% of total world oil consumption and 30% of all oil traded by sea.
It is the single most critical choke point in the entire global energy system.
If the strait closes, the lights begin to go out. Not metaphorically, literally.
Iran knows it. It has known it for decades. The minesweeping fleet positioned under the P-8 is not an improvised response.
It is the product of a deliberate strategic doctrine that Iranian planners have been developing and perfecting since the 1980s. When they first demonstrated during the tanker war that naval mines could paralyze international shipping and invite superpower intervention in the same blow. The doctrine is elegant in its simplicity. It is not necessary to defeat the United States Navy in open battle.
Simply make the strait too dangerous to transit. Economic panic does the rest.
The mines that already rest silently on the bottom of the channel's shallow approaches are a proof of concept. They have already triggered insurance premiums, diverted a dozen tankers, and sparked crisis meetings.
In Washington, Riyadh, Tokyo, and Brussels. But they are in the shallow waters, where the water is too shallow for the largest ships anyway.
The deep water shipping lanes that supertankers require remain open.
The 16 mine hunters below carry the capability to change that permanently. That is why the P-8 is here. Why failure is not an option. Don, the P-8 out.
Its airframe is borrowed from a commercial Boeing 737, the same fuselage you might board for a flight from New York to Miami.
But its purpose is brutally military. It was conceived to hunt submarines in the vast and empty reaches of the open ocean.
Its AN/APY-10 radar is one of the most capable surface search systems in any military inventory.
Capable of tracking and classifying hundreds of surface contacts simultaneously at ranges that would overwhelm a ship-based system.
Beneath the surface, its sonobuoys, small floating sensors deployed into the water, listen for the acoustic signatures of submarines hiding in the depths.
Its magnetic anomaly detector can detect the distortion that a steel hull creates in the Earth's magnetic field.
It is a platform built to find the invisible, whether that threat is above or below the waves.
The P-8 is methodical. It doesn't look for targets. It builds a complete, layered picture of the battle space, identifying and classifying every contact.
Its autonomy allows it to remain in position for up to 8 hours without refueling, more than a transatlantic flight.
Its magnetic anomaly detector can detect the distortion that a steel hull creates in the Earth's magnetic field.
It is a platform built to find the invisible, whether that threat is above or below the waves.
The P-8 is methodical.
It doesn't look for targets. It builds a complete and layered picture of the battle space.
Its autonomy allows it to remain in position for up to 8 hours without refueling. A persistent and tireless eye in the sky.
But today, the P-8 has a problem that no sensor can solve. It carries up to 5 HARP missiles. The math is immediate and implacable. The TACO can initiate the attack, but he cannot finish it alone.
He just needs a partner.
Before we go into how the resource problem of a single aircraft is solved by a network that extends hundreds of kilometers.
If this is proving useful, subscribing and leaving a like genuinely helps us keep going. Leave a comment telling us from what part of the world you are watching this.
Now let's see how the P-8 asks for help and who responds to the call.
The fingers of the TACO move over his console. This is not a moment of panic. It is a programmed response.
He is a node in a network, and the network is designed exactly for this problem. The execution of a doctrine that has been simulated and refined.
He transmits a request for fire, a digital packet that bundles the complete targeting data for the 16 Iranian ships.
Their GPS positions, their heading, their speed, their classification, all in a single encrypted packet.
The request traverses the secure Link 16 data stream at the speed of light, seeking another node with the capacity to strike.
80 kilometers away, beyond the horizon, the request finds its destination. The dark, refrigerated request appears on the screen of the Tactical Action Officer, the TAO. The CIC is a world of blue light and luminous screens. A room that smells of electronics and recycled air, where the outside world does not exist.
The TAO does not look through a window. He looks at a screen, and on that screen, the data from the P-8 has just transformed his tactical picture.
The ship's Aegis combat system seamlessly integrates the P-8's targeting data into its own sensor picture. The 16 Iranian ships, completely invisible to the destroyer's own radar due to the curvature of the Earth, now appear.
The destroyer and the P-8 are no longer two separate platforms operating in two separate domains. They have become a single distributed.
This concept, the integrated kill chain, is what defines modern naval warfare. It is best understood through a civilian perspective. Imagine you manage security for a vast office park at night.
The new way is different. You install a single, advanced thermal camera on the roof of the tallest building. From a central
The power of the system does not reside in the guard or in the camera in isolation, but in the invisible data link that connects them.
Collapsing the time and distance until the result is almost a certainty. The P-8 is the camera operator. The Arleigh Burke is the guard.
The Iranian fleet has no idea the guard exists because they didn't even see the camera. They are being dismantled by a...
From beyond the horizon, before the fight even began, the TAO on the destroyer now has the same complete tactical image as the TACO on the P-8.
His console shows the status of his ship's primary weapon for this attack, the Standard Missile 6.
In its primary function, it is an anti-air weapon designed to reach out.
In a secondary function, it is a ballistic missile interceptor, capable of engaging warheads in the terminal phase of their descent.
In this attack, it is assigned a third function.
What makes the SM-6 especially suited for this role is its active radar seeker. It ascends to altitude in a ballistic arc. In the terminal phase, its onboard seeker activates and steers to
the TAO designates the targets assigned to his ship by the network. The solution is elegant and brutal.
The P-8 will attack one part of the fleet with its harpoons. The destroyer will attack the rest with SM-6. The attack will be simultaneous.
The Iranian fleet, still sailing in beatific ignorance, is now framed by two shooters from two different domains.
The weapon Kandelsalav Gurandlarstawat represent two substantial sperondas, and Klodang is essential to understanding why.
The Harpoon anti-ship missile, the AGM-84, is a stalker. It flies low, just above the surface of...
It cruises at approximately Mach 0.7. Not fast by modern standards, but its lethality...
When the radar operator finally sees it, it's already its terminal phase. The Harpoon's...
The Standard Missile 6, by contrast, operates on the opposite principle. Where the Harpoon relies on stealth, the SM-6 relies on overwhelming speed.
It erupts from the ship's vertical launch cells in a pillar of white fire and black smoke for miles.
But it doesn't matter that it can be seen. It travels at more than Mach 3. The reaction time available to a target 80 kilometers away.
The final piece of the puzzle is timing, and here is where the doctrine becomes genuinely elegant.
Because the subsonic Harpoons and supersonic SM-6s travel at very different speeds, they cannot be launched simultaneously.
From different platforms, different domains, and different speeds, the weapons arrive as one.
An insoluble problem simultaneously, before the crew of any individual ship can alert the others or execute an evasive maneuver. The adversary's last line of defense, if these vessels carried their standard point defense systems.
The system used by navies all over the world. Its principle is simple.
فرمانده اهداف خیلی زیاد هستن نمیتوانیم هر آنها رو ردیابی کنیم وضعیت اضطراری
The gun can only point in one direction at a time.
On the leading minehunter, the point defense system's electric motor whines under the load of the rapid turn. It locks on the most...
A Harpoon arriving from 11 seconds later hits Eric That's another ship.
On the infrared screen that records the P-8 circling silent limits of the 16 ships bloom one by...
The entire attack, from the first impact to the last confirmed detonation, concludes in less than 10 minutes.
The total and catastrophic failure of the defense is not a mystery. It is like a world-class firefighter standing in the hallway,
Facing doors that open in every direction at once. At once. He is perfectly trained, but fire started in 10 rooms simultaneously.
The battle was won, not at the moment of impact, in fact, but hours before. In the planning cycle that determined the timing,
Before, it was the total strategic capacity of a nation, a fleet it took a decade to build. After, it was a...
The sun begins to rise, casting a clean, hard light over the Strait of Hormuz.
The SM-6 doesn't hide, it simply arrives before the defense can respond. Reaction time is measured in seconds.
the final piece of the puzzle is timing. Here is where the doctrine becomes genuinely elegant.
The TACO and the TAO are not just firing missiles. They are conducting a precisely choreographed saturation attack.
Because the subsonic Harpoons and supersonic SM-6s travel at very different speeds, they cannot be launched simultaneously.
The calculation works backward from the desired impact time. The Harpoons are released first from the wings of the P-8. Calculated to arrive at the same moment as the Harpoons already in flight. From different platforms, different domains, and different speeds, the weapons arrive as one. The goal is not simply to destroy the target. The goal is to present each ship of the Iranian flotilla with an insoluble problem simultaneously, before the crew of any individual ship can alert the others or execute a maneuver. Before, it was a fleet of 16 naval vessels. After, there were 16 coordinates on a screen, each the designated endpoint for a missile solution that cost more than the ship it was about to erase.
Before, it was a fleet of 16 naval vessels, the product of a nation's industry and years of training.
After, they were 16 coordinates on a screen, each the designated endpoint for a missile solution that cost more than the ship it was about to erase.
If these vessels carried their standard point defense systems, it would be the AK-630, a 30mm Gatling gun.
Controlled by a fast-tracking radar. It is a legitimate system used by navies all over the world precisely because it works.
Its principle is simple.
"5,000 rounds per minute is capable of creating a literal wall of steel in the sky. But against a well-planned saturation attack, it is a child with a bucket trying to stop a flood."
An alarm begins to sound. Then a second contact appears, and a third.
Too many contacts. We have multiple threats on all bearings. In seconds, the console is a chaos of incoming threat symbols. The system was designed to track and engage one.
The gun can only point in one direction at a time, while it engages the threat on the east threats.
The defense has already failed. The explosions are just the formality that confirms it.
The Standard Missile 6 makes its final approach. It is no longer an interceptor. It is a clinical instrument of physics applied with lethal intent.
The SM-6 hits the bridge of the leading ship, its warhead detonating with catastrophic force within the superstructure.
The Harpoon, arriving from a different angle seconds later, hits another ship in the Quadrina Maestra, its warhead exploding deep within the hull. Those carrying the largest reserves of mines trigger massive secondary explosions as the ammunition cooks off, destructuring the vessels from within.
On the infrared screens aboard the circling silently above, the 16 ships bloom.
The torrent of 30mm shells may even find its target, disintegrating one of the incoming missiles in a rain of debris. But it doesn't matter. For every missile it destroys, 3 more approach from different vectors, and there is nothing left to stop them.
The first SM-6 performs its terminal maneuver. 3, 4, impact!
The SM-6 hits the bridge of the lead ship, its warhead detonating with catastrophic force within the superstructure of the vessel.
A Harpoon arriving from a different angle seconds later hits another ship in the Quadrina Maestra, its warhead exploding deep within the hull.
On the infrared screens aboard the P-8 circling silently above, the 16 ships bloom one by one in bright...
Some are single, sharp flashes. Others, those carrying the largest reserves of mines in their holds, trigger massive secondary explosions. When the ammunition cooks off, shattering the vessels from the inside in a chain of detonations that lights up the pre-dawn darkness for miles of open water. The entire attack, from the first impact to the last confirmed detonation, concludes in less than 10 minutes.
The reason for the total and catastrophic failure of the Iranian defense is no mystery. It is simple geometry, applied with deliberate precision. The point defense system is like a world-class firefighter standing in the hallway of a burning building with a single hose, facing doors that open in all directions at once.
The equipment is excellent. The training is perfect. Frankly, we're fighting, but they're simultaneous.
While he floods the kitchen, the bedroom, the study, and the living room are burning out of control. The attack was not designed...
The battle was won not at the moment of impact, but hours before, in the planning cycle that determined the timing, the axes...
Before, it was the total mine-sweeping capacity of Iran, a fleet that took a decade to build.
The sun begins to rise, casting a clean, hard light over the Strait of Hormuz. The sea is not completely calm.
That work will take days, but the deep-water shipping lanes that supertankers require remain open.
The capacity to close them permanently has been erased from the Iranian order of battle. For CENTCOM, it is a decisive result.
Think of the P-8 not as an aircraft that hunts ships, but as a flying tribunal. For when it's censored...
When the sensors have finished their work, it has already built the complete case. Each data point is a piece of evidence, each coordinate a verdict already reached.
The firing of a missile is not the start of the process, but the mechanical delivery of a verdict that was rendered the moment the P-8 arrived on station.
The enemy may never see the aircraft, may never hear its engines, yet they are already under the scrutiny of its digital gaze.
The P-8 extends the reach of the carrier strike group by hundreds of miles, serving as the sensory vanguard of the fleet.
In the future of maritime combat, the winner is not necessarily the one with the biggest guns, but the one who builds the case first.
But the surface is only half the story. The P-8 was born from a legacy of hunting the silent threat that resides hundreds of meters below the waves.
To find what cannot be seen, the P-8 seeds the ocean with sonar buoys.
Each buoy is a remote ear, transmitting every sound, from the clicking of shrimp to the rhythmic thrum of a submarine.
Inside the cabin, acoustic operators peel back the layers of the ocean. They aren't just looking for a ship, they are looking for a signature.
Subsurface, surface, and air. There, a rhythmic signature at 400 hertz, the unmistakable cavitation of a 7-bladed screw. The Ghost now has a location.
Standard torpedoes must be dropped from low altitude, but with the AAUC wing kit, the P-8 can launch its strike from 30,000 feet.
Weapon away. It is no longer a gravity bomb, it is a guided glider. It traverses the horizontal...
The parachute stabilizes the entry. The Mark 54s from passive listening to active search.
The Kilo class senses the ping and reacts instantly. It deploys acoustic decoys, noisemakers designed to... But the torpedo's brain is designed for this. It compares the acoustic return of the decoys. The gap closes. 100 meters, 50 meters.
The Tribunal is heading home. The sensors are cold, the weapons are gone, and the sea is silent once again. Mission complete.
Decisive. It flies as a silent guardian of the deep water commons. A platform that ensures the rules of the world are not just written on.
Bringing 150 tons of technology and human expertise back to Earth. The descent, the work of the crew ends, the work of the maintainers begins. Every hour in the sky is paid for by a dozen hours on the ground.
It is a global network of sentinels. From the North Atlantic to the Indo-Pacific, the Poseidon ensures that...
In the end, the technology is just a tool. The real power of the Poseidon lies in the people who operate it.
As we move deeper into 2026, the P-8 remains...